welcome to the program. I'm Roby Brock. Thank you so much for joining us. Representative Tippi McCullough, Democrat of Little Rock, is the minority leader in the Arkansas House of Representatives. Always good to visit with you.
Good to be here, Roby.
We're not on Zoom this time. We're in person.
It's nice.
This is nice,
Yeah.
refreshing here.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
welcome to the program. So,
Thank you.
You announced this past week you're running for re-election.
I am.
Fourth term?
That's right.
All right. Well, congratulations. You're going to try to stay House Minority Leader as well?
We'll see. You know, I've been fortunate to be able to do it for a couple of terms, and we'll see, you know, what the will of the caucus is and everything, and make that decision as it gets a little closer.
Yeah. Well, I, for one, hope that you stay. And not that there aren't other qualified folks to do it, but you've always been accessible. You've always given us some good, honest answers there, and I appreciate that very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So let's start where, gosh, I don't know where to begin. There's so much fun stuff to talk about in Arkansas. Let's talk about coming out of the special session here. The Freedom of Information Act was under attack for some pretty serious changes. It all got very dialed back. What's your take on the final outcome of what happened? And I would imagine you're in the camp like me that anticipates more is still going to come on this front.
Yeah, it appears that that's probably the case. I think that, first of all, I don't think we should have had a special session at all. I don't think anything rose to the level of an emergency for us to be dealing with any of the issues that we dealt with. But having said that, I think the outcome was a nonpartisan push from the people. I think we had both sides, Republicans and Democrats, you know, and not necessarily working together that's orchestrated, but both of us feeling in some of the same ways. And we have one of the best laws in the United States, and that's one of the things that we lead in, and why mess with something that's going really well?
I almost call it a tripartisan effort versus a nonpartisan effort. You had Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians. There was a bunch of people across the political spectrum there. Do you think the governor just miscalculated on that? Do you think she didn't anticipate that push was going to come, particularly from her, you know, part of her political base? Because I think Democrats were adamant out there from the beginning, we're not going to support this.
Right, maybe so. You know, the political climate's hard to read often, no matter which side you're on. But I do think that there was probably a little misreading of that, and maybe the forceful support that the FOIA law absolutely has. And coming from her standpoint, you know, she was talking about her family safety and those types of things. But the FOIA law covers so many things, and there are so many ways to misuse it if we don't keep it really tight and strong, that I think probably some issues came up maybe that were unexpected.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that kind of has spun out of all that as we're following this story, I feel like we're on about week 3 of this, but it feels like 3 years of a almost $19,000 lectern that the governor purchased originally through her office, got a credit card limit upgraded, then wound up getting reimbursed from the leftover inaugural funds in the Arkansas GOP. I mean, some of this is how it's been done in the past, but it's clear that there was some originally misleading information about how all this got taken care of. I mean, to me, it's more than an accounting error, but I don't know if it rises to the level of somebody should go to jail. I mean,
Right.
I don't think it's illegal in that respect. But what's your take on that controversy? And do you think there will be some sort of audit done? You've got legislative audit, you got joint peer review, both of which could do something through the legislature.
Right. I think that a lot of this could be taken care of simply for one day, just going through all of it, putting everything out there. If a mistake was made, admitting that mistake, one day news cycle, let's move on. But since that's not happening, you continue to have, you know, a lot of the questions that are being asked, all the pictures that are out there, of course, on X or Twitter. You've got, you know, tons of things happening on there that not everybody's necessarily seeing. But the thing is that if there is any perception, often, of any mistakes or misuse, you know, we have our checks and balances, and legislatures, that's part of our job, is one of those checks and balances. It's our constitutional obligation to look into these things, whether that's through audit or asking questions behind the scenes. And I don't think this is a partisan thing. I think that whether you're Republican or Democrat, you want things to be very transparent and want everyone to understand what happened and know how we're using taxpayer money and make sure that we're doing that properly and efficiently. So until these questions are answered, I think this process will probably continue to move forward into that.
Governor's office would tell you they've answered all the questions on it. The emails have become public. The The accounting's all taken care of now. Here's the lectern. You can look at it for yourself. You know, I'm not sure how it cost $19,000 or $18,000 and some change, but it did. Does it? What else is there still to answer?
Well, once again, if that's the case, and people call for, whoever calls for an audit, I think in the paper today it said there had been a couple of inquiries. What's the problem with that then? If everything's been stated, that explains it all. I mean, there's still outcry that everything is not clear. And
you think the legislature, through its oversight, could provide a final report that would put everything to rest?
I think that's possible. There's lots of talking behind the scenes already, even within my caucus, obviously, but also across the aisle. So there are lots of conversations going on. There are questions that sometimes can be answered maybe before it gets to that point of an official audit. You know, the Twitterverse and X moves very quickly with all of the
conspiracy theories.
That's right.
Yeah.
With all of that, government moves much slower than that, so the process is going to be slower, and there's no way we can keep up with that. But everybody can rest assured that we are working on it, and we are asking questions. And if it comes to that point where an audit process needs to happen, I hope that that's that's not a partisan effort. Yeah. I hope that that's something that, because of our constitutional duty, that we will take on.
All right, I got a few minutes left. Let's talk about Medicaid. We're coming up to the end of the 6-month cycle that is going to redetermine all of the Medicaid eligibility for citizens in the state of Arkansas. We've seen quite a few people dropped off the rolls for a variety of reasons. Some of that needed to happen. I mean, there were some people that will be receiving Medicaid that should not receive Medicaid. Sure. Because they've income levels or whatever. And then some we just don't know. What do you think is going to happen with the ones we just don't know about? Like, we didn't get anything back from them, we can't find them, that kind of.
Well, obviously they're going to fall through the cracks. I mean, this has been one of the biggest complicated undertakings that the government's had to take on because of the pandemic. So I believe that with so many, it's complicated already, and the process, I think the government has said that our call times are too long, that it's with all of the people that have been kicked off, that there's so many, and that the processing of the forms are taking a long time. And I just think, and then people are getting kicked off and reapplying to come back on. So it's such a complicated process that people are bound to fall through the cracks. And that's one of the reasons that myself and many of us voted against the bill to bring this down to 6 months instead of let us take the process through a year. I think it's super important that we take our time doing this right, because the bottom line is not only are a lot of people going to fall through the cracks, but a lot of these people are going to be children, and we should not allow children to fall through the cracks.
All right, I got to wrap it up there, but it's always good to visit with you. Representative Tippi McCullough.
Appreciate
she's the House Minority Leader, at least for a little while.
That's
longer.
Right.
When would you have to
we have that election in May.
All right, all right. Well, we'll have you back before then. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Rob.
When we come back, we'll be joined by Rex Nelson from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette.